Welcome to No Options with Ty Gipson, the show where life's toughest trials become the foundation for your greatest triumphs. Real stories, raw conversations, and the unwavering belief that you were built to overcome. Now, here's your host, Ty Gipson.
Hey guys, man, I am excited today, dude. I got a good one on the show today, guys. It took me a while to wrangle him down, but I got him here, and I'm excited. Jason Phillips, thanks for being here today, man.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me on, Ty. I've been watching all your other episodes and keeping up with everything you're doing, and it helps me, but I know it's helping a lot of people, so I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I want to just tell you real quick about Jason. I mean, when we talk about determination and just somebody, we talk about grit, we talk about coming over adversity and just pushing through. And let me tell you guys, get ready, buckle up a little bit, because Jason's got some stories, man, and I want you guys to understand his story behind this, because I love what he's done and what he's done in his life, as far as he's taken God's given talent that we all have some level of, and taking it to the max, right? And we always talk about that. You hear these general topics about being the best that you can be and all this, but Jason took that to a whole nother level. Just a couple of things, man. Jason grew up in Waller, Texas, man. Went to Waller High School. And the cool thing was Jim Phillips his dad is one of the legend high school coaches, man, in Texas. And he got to play for his dad, which I think alone is a pretty cool deal. And Jason will talk a little bit about that. But behind every good coach and I'm sure a knucklehead son like Jason probably was, his mom, I met his mom, and she's a wonderful lady. And I'll tell you guys, just a great family. But to be able to just say you played for your dad in high school is pretty cool. And I've heard some cool stories that his dad's told me about Jason as a player too, that I may get to share throughout the day. But Jason went on. He had many offers, man. He had several offers, and we could go on for probably a list of them, but ended up at TCU. And not only did he end up at TCU, but he came out of high school, guys, listen to this, as a quarterback and a linebacker. Now that's a combo there. So, but got recruited as in some cases as quarterbacks, in some cases, in this case at TCU, is a fullback. Jason, is that correct?
Yes,
Went
sir.
to TCU as a fullback. But anyway, at TCU, man, he was able to do some amazing things. He was first or second team All-American a couple years there. He was a 4-time All-Conference. But here's the cool one. The only defensive player in the Mountain West Conference to receive 4 years of All-Conference. And that's the only, that's still, I think that record still holds for the Mountain West. So congratulations to you there, Jason. And then it didn't stop there, man. Jason got drafted in 2009 by the Ravens in the first pick of the 5th round. What a cool place to go. And guys, you got to think back 2009. There were some pretty cool players at the Ravens. That was a good time to be a Raven. There were some dudes there.
Hall of Famers on there.
There were some of that, Jason. I can't wait for you to talk about that. And then Jason spent a 2+ years there, and then he went on to Carolina Panthers for a short stint, and then he finished up the last couple of years as the Philadelphia Eagle. And as you see behind me, Dallas Cowboy. I'm a Cowboy fan, so man, that's a hard one, Jason. But that's all right. I know there's some good guys behind those Eagle helmets, but I am a big Cowboy fan. And then from there, Jason went back to his alma mater, and Coach Patterson was there, and Jason came in as a GA and did some work with the linebackers, and slowly just stepped into some roles on the defensive side and coached linebackers, and then went on. After that, as we all know, that coaching player world is tough, and Jason jumped out into the real world and got busy. But I'm gonna stop there, because there's a lot I can keep talking about. Jason, tell us a little bit about those days. Let's start with your high school days as being the son of a legend high school coach. But how was that playing for your dad?
I always tell people that out of all the years I had playing, that was the most fun I had playing was with my dad, like for my dad. And I see coaches sometimes have their kids get ready to play, and they'll step out, or they don't want to coach their son. They just want to watch them. And I would highly recommend not doing that because again, the most fun and honestly, it brought me and my dad a lot closer together was when I played for him. He never pushed us to play football. He never, that was never a pressure thing. It was something me and both my brothers just wanted to do. Like we loved playing football, and it just happened to be that my dad was the head coach, and there's a pretty good story with that. But I should have been the starting quarterback from day one, my sophomore year. But we had a senior that was a quarterback, good quarterback, but he was a superintendent's son. And the other backup was the principal's son. And so it took about 4 games, and I would go in and I would perform pretty well, and the other guys would go in and do okay. But after about 4 games, all of his assistant coaches were like, "Hey, coach, when are we gonna make the switch?" And my dad was like, "What are you talking about? When are you going to start Jason?" And he was like, "Y'all enjoy y'all's jobs because if I make that move, none of us are going to be here." But no, the quarterback that was the senior, he was actually a really good safety. He went on to play at San Angelo, and I think he wanted to make the move so he could play more safety and get used to it. And but playing quarterback with my dad was awesome. We ran the option, so it wasn't like I was a prolific passer, a Graham Harrell back there. I would probably misread it and run you over before I would throw it over your head any day. But it was a lot of fun. It really was. It was probably the highlight of my playing days, I think, was just being able to play for my dad and look at the sidelines and see him and take a butt chewing at practice and then one at home.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, I didn't know you back then, but I mean, I've gotten to know you over the years now, and man, I tell you guys, Jason has that mentality of just do what's right or get out of the way kind of thing, right? And I love that about you. And but I'll tell you, I got to visit with your dad a while back, and I'm gonna tell this story real quick because I thought it was the coolest story. His dad was telling me, and he said, "Man, Jason was fun to coach, but good Lord," he said, "Man, I never knew what he was going to do." And he said, "We're playing." He said, "Y'all are playing P&G, Fort Nature's Groves, in a big playoff." And he said those linemen looked like they was as wide as a truck. And he said, "I think it was like they were on the 2 or something, and it was 4th down." And Jason, he said, we call timeout, and Jason comes over and says, "Dad, give me the ball, give me the ball." And he said, I'm going right over the middle. He said, "Why are we, give me the ball?" He said, Jason he was very determined. And he said, the crazy thing was, he said, we ran the play. He said, but he said, Jason ran out off the sideline. He runs over to the referee. And he said, I had no idea what Jason was saying. He said, I had no clue. I didn't know if he was mouthing off, if he was saying something, or he said, I had no idea. But he said, we got the ball, and he said Jason jumps, he leaps over the line and shoves the ball across the line, and they throw up the touchdown. And he said it was beautiful. He said, but that ref came up to him after the game and said, "Coach, I got to tell you, that was the smartest thing I've ever seen a high school kid do." He said he came over to him and he said, "Watch that ball because he said that they're gonna try to slap it out of my hands." He said, "But I'm gonna get it across that line before they do." And sure enough, I think, is that a true story, Jason?
Yeah. It was, P&G, they travel very well. They have about 30,000. I mean, there was a lot. We were playing at U of H, and that whole side was full of purple. And I just remember we were on about the 1, and I was just going to sneak and then, do the dive over with the ball. But I went and told him, I said, "Hey, I'm going to do that, but they have a really smart linebacker. He's going to try to snap it out of my hands. So when you see that ball cross the line, you better make a definitive call and throw it the touchdown. Or you see all that purple, that 30,000, they're going to be coming after you." And so luckily I ended up sneaking to the right and dove over. And sure enough, as soon as it went across, he threw his hands up. And I was right. That linebacker tried to knock it out. I held on to it. But the fact that, he threw up his hands and that was the end of the game. But beating them was cool because I remember being a little kid when we played P&G when I was like 10. And they beat us. They had Dustin Long, I think, was the quarterback that went there, and they beat us pretty bad. So it was cool to be able to help Dad get a win over a team like P&G, who is known for being a powerhouse. That was probably one of the funnest games I've had in the career in general.
I just thought that was a great story. He said he was determined to do it, but I mean that totally fits your personality. Just so you know, I love that story but so playing for your dad was really cool and had a lot of success. You guys, as your dad did in many places he went, but I think I can imagine from his standpoint too, being able to coach his son was probably just as cool as it was for you to play for him. I bet it was really cool for him to have you on the field.
Oh.
Now let's talk a little bit. So you get through high school, and then you get through this. Nowadays it's a little different, obviously the recruiting and all that. But tell us how you made the choice to go to TCU.
Well, going through and you're right, it's a lot different. I don't know if I would get a Division I scholarship in the way they recruit with the portal and all that. I would probably have to go to a smaller school, play good, and then move up. So anybody watching, just keep playing. But I went to all the camps and I played. And this is another recommendation. I played everything. If they asked me to play receiver, I played receiver, running back, defensive end, tight end, safety, linebacker. I just wanted them to see I was athletic enough and I wanted to compete that I could play anything. I knew I wasn't going to be a quarterback. I wasn't a great thrower in high school. We ran the options. So every camp I went to, I just played all these different positions. And I grew up watching the Wrecking Crew at A&M. Like I grew up on Datwin and all those guys. And I wanted to go to A&M pretty bad. And I went, had a great camp. And they didn't offer me, they kind of dangled it, but they just kind of left me in the back because they knew they had 2, 4, 5-star guys committed. So it's TCU, and they had me doing a lot of running back reps. And I remember thinking, this is the first team that's asked me to do one position pretty much the whole time. And at the end of the camp, somebody came up to me and was like, hey, Coach Patterson wants to see you in his office. And so I walked in with my dad, and he basically told me, yeah, we want to offer you a scholarship. And I probably was about to commit right there. And I just kind of said, okay, Coach, can I just think about it, talk with my dad on the way home? And he was like, yeah, no rush. And me and Dad talked on the way home, and I think it was the fact that they had the confidence in me to offer me right away, but also that they had the ability to see that, okay, this kid can play something. We don't know what it is yet. We're going to bring him in as a running back, fullback, but we know he's going to be able to play something. And that confidence is really what hooked me, because I knew the coaching staff was good. Didn't know much about Coach Patterson yet, but I knew after he saw that, it showed me he could see talent. He knew he could develop me into something. Right. And it kind of bothered me that A&M didn't, because, like I said, I ran faster than all their guys, covered all the guys they couldn't. And it's pretty funny because A&M came in about the 4th game of the season after I'd been committed to TCU, and one of their linebackers decommitted. And so they came in to offer me, and I just told them, like, I'm committed to TCU. That's where I said I'm going to go, and that's where I'm going to go. And it looked like it kind of surprised him because he knew how bad I did want to go to A&M. But after I get into TCU, seeing the campus, meeting the coaches, and just the feel of the campus and everything felt right for me. And best decision I ever made. Those 4 years we won 44 games, I think. Not sure how many A&M won, but it wasn't 44. And it just turned out to be the best thing, because then I moved to linebacker after Coach P saw that I could do some things he didn't think I could athletically, and the rest is history after that. But yeah, it was awesome, and that's why I say stay open-minded, play every sport you can. I mean, I was a good linebacker because I learned how to shuffle in basketball. It just, everything carries over. And so play everything you can, be open to coach changes. They know more than you, and they have your best interest at heart, because it worked out for me.
Well, I'll tell you that, and I think that's a good point to make. You brought up playing different, you're not so focused on a position. You had the right mindset, and I talk about mindset a lot, and I know you do too. But be the willingness to be able to just put me in coach kind of thing, right? Give me a shot. Like you said, I don't care where. But I think that's in life, right? We're talking football here, but I think that can really be related in anything, in business, or what if you're. Sometimes you just got to be the best at whatever and wherever you're at right now, right? No, I mean, if you're just be the best, because if you're the best here, it may help you get there. You were the best quarterback at the time at Waller, right? But it turned into being one of the best linebackers at TCU. Who would have thought, right? But you got to perform where you're at to be able to take those steps. and it takes the right mindset. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, I think people fear jumping out there and trying new things and doing something different because they might fail. And my dad and my mom always, taught me, don't worry about that. You know what I mean? Take what you learn from the failure, apply it, and just get better and better. They always told me to chase failure if you want to catch success, because
That's a good point.
It's true. Like, the best teacher I ever had was when I did something wrong and I saw it on film, and I'd say, oh, okay, I see what they want now. And just like you said in life, there's opportunities that may show up, and the fear of I always say you can't eat the fruit if you don't go out on a limb, but the fear of stepping out or putting yourself out there, a lot of people allow that to hinder them and keep them from taking chances that could be something great for them. And if anybody's out there, that thinks that, I just say, who cares? Who cares if you fail? You know what I mean? To just stop. Don't worry about what other people think. Do you have confidence in what you can do, and understand that everybody falls on their face sometime or another? The only way to handle it is to pop right back up as quick as you can, find out what you did wrong, and then go again, and then again, and then again, because everything in life is repetition. It's just, how many times can I do it over and over and over and over and over again the right way? I think it was Bruce Lee that said, I don't fear the man that knows 10,000 kicks. I fear the man that knows one kick, but reps it 10,000 times. And that's always been something I've thought of whenever, I wasn't a great baseball player, but I played baseball because I knew if I could get better at baseball, I was getting better at something else, but I was also pushing myself to put myself out there and to possibly fail in front of a lot of people, and to handle that failure and use it as motivation to get better and better and better and better every day.
Those are great. You said several things that are really great points. Talk about, sometimes our adversity is all it's doing is preparing us for the future ahead, right? For the 100%. Path ahead. And reps. You talk about reps. When we fail, we get back up, and I think that's life, man. Good Lord. I can tell you, a couple of things today that I did wrong, that I had to keep. It just happens all the time. But we can't quit, and you're a prime example of that, not quitting. But man, so I got a lot I want to ask you. So we got to get moving on this stuff. But I want to talk about, let's talk about the night of the draft. How was that, man? Because a lot of us we never got to experience that. Only a few people have. So what was that like for you when you got drafted?
It was ups and downs, because going into the draft, I was the number 2 linebacker behind James Laurinaitis. Had an early to mid second round grade. Then I blew my knee out at the combine, and that all went away. I didn't know if I was going to get drafted or if I was going to go free agent. And I'm watching the draft, and as I'm watching it, first, second, third, fourth round, and I'm seeing linebackers get drafted that a few months before that I started over in all-star games, and it was frustrating, but it was also one of those things where it's like, there's nothing I can do about it. Just when that opportunity comes, seize it. And my phone rang, and it was Ozzie Newsome, and he said, hey, we have the first pick of the 5th round. If you're still available, we're going to take you. And he's like, congratulations, you're going to be a Raven. And I told him over and over, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. And I remember what he said and how he said it, because it was just so nonchalant and confident. He was like, yeah, we know, Jay. We know, we got you. We know you're going to be good. And I remember telling him, I appreciate you guys having that much confidence in me. And he really told me something I'll never forget, which was, let me tell you what's about to happen. There's going to be some writers that come out with grades about the draft, and you're going to be an F. They're not going to know why we drafted a guy with a blown out knee who's not going to play. He said, but those writers don't know about you what we know about you. They haven't been watching you for the last 4 years. They didn't talk to your offensive line coach and find out his O-line hated practicing against you because you only had one speed. They didn't talk to your academic advisor and find out you were the guy that came in and said, I'm not smart enough to pass this class alone. I need more tutors. We talked to your linebacker coach and found out you were the guy that stayed late, with the younger linebackers. So if you got hurt, you didn't, defense take a step back. He was like, we didn't draft you because you're some generational talent. He was like, talent is all over the draft. We drafted you because you do things the Raven way. And when I got to the Baltimore, I found that the Raven way was nothing more than doing those everyday little things. I call them zero talent characteristics, but everyday little things the right way. Would you be a good scout team for the offense to get good reps? Are you going to be able to memorize or to learn Mike, Sam, and Will so you can back up all three positions so we can maybe dress another player and you can handle all that? Are you going to give us and take ownership of being a special teams player? And that's where you make your role. You just came from being the captain, the MVP of TCU. Are you humble enough to take ownership of your new role, which is scout team and special teams? And then as you get better, we'll work you in. And that hit me hard because I had been doing exactly what they, the team who was going to draft me, I'd been doing what they wanted the whole time, and I didn't know it. I was just doing what I do day in and day out, which was work as hard as I can, learn as much as I can, and attack everything with the best attitude I can. And it paid off, and they got me drafted with a blown out knee.
So were you, how long did it take you to recover from that knee? Were you back ready when the
I came in and I went through camp, and it ended up I ended up tearing it again. And so I had to sit out that first year, and by the end of the year they decided to do surgery again, but they gave me the whole off season. And then I played that next year with the Ravens, full year with them, had a good year. And then the year after that I played about 3 games, and then I got traded to the Panthers. But and then played, 2 years there and then 2 years in Philly. Tore my calf there and then blew my knee out again in Philly. But those are different stories. But it was awesome. I mean, there's Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Haloti Ngata. I mean, there were some names in there, and I really got to see how professionals acted. I got to see how real grown men acted and worked. And, I say it all the time, but Ray Lewis acted like a rookie every day. I mean, he came in wanting to learn, wanting to know what's going on, did not care if a coach got after him because he wanted to get better. And he knew the only way to get better was to hear what he's not doing right. And he impressed me as just a human being, probably more than anybody I've ever encountered in my life.
Yeah, and that's, that was one of the questions I was going to ask is, what's it like being in a locker room with Ray Lewis and those type guys? But I think you talked a lot about it. They do the little things that a lot of people don't realize, right? Yeah, there's some freak athletes all through that locker room, but what separates them are these small details. And I think you talked a little bit about that. What was the coolest thing of being around those type guys?
I think the coolest thing that I, in my NFL career was the week that Ray had a little injury that was nagging him. He didn't know if he was going to start or if I was going to have to go in. And so he just tapped me on the shoulder in the locker room and was like, "Hey, come to the house. We do starters film." And it was a player-led film session where they went through different personnels, different plays. They were communicating different calls. It just blew me away because there were no coaches. It was just those guys there doing exactly what you were supposed to do, but nobody was telling them to do it. They were doing it because they knew they wanted to play very good on Sunday. So they wanted to make sure they had all the calls straightened out. There, when there's a coach around, you might be afraid to ask a question, but when it's just you and your guys, you're not afraid to ask it. And they over-communicated things. They, even brought me in. They like, "Oh yeah, Jay, let's say you're in with, Daniel Adderbilly or Jamil McClain, whoever was the other linebacker." He was like, let's start, just make the call, rip Liz, and then go through what you have. And that was really cool. It was nerve-wracking, but it was really cool to see that when I would make a mistake, one of the safeties would be like, no, we're playing this coverage. And then it wasn't like, "Oh, that's wrong, you're wrong." But it was, "I got your back. I'm going to, communicate to you what we're running." And it was something we used to say at TCU is if we're all wrong, we're all right. Like if you don't know the call, but he knows it, well, tell him, because then we're all running the same call. It may not be what they call it on the sidelines, but we're all running the same thing. And it's when people get on the opposite page of one another and somebody's blitzing from this side, or they all blitz and nobody covers the tight end, that's when you get in trouble. And so seeing their over communication and their just ability to go from joking with each other to locking in on the film and paying attention and not joking around and being grown men and getting ready for a game. And then they had obviously a guy that was Ray's chef who was cooking lamb or something that I probably normally wouldn't eat. But it really did. It made me perk up a little bit and say, like, okay, man, like I have to grow up a little bit. I've got to
Yeah.
be a guy like these guys if I want to play
Yeah.
in this level.
Well, and so you've told me a couple of stories that I want you to share with them, and one of them, you got in at special, you're doing some special team stuff, but guys, I don't know if y'all remember back in the day when they had the wedge busters, right? The guys that would run down, the wild guys that were leading the pack, that their job was just to bust up the line to get to the return or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so Jason talks about those days when that was his role, man. And I remember, Jason, you telling me when you used to get up most of the time and you didn't know what sideline you went so wide open that you didn't know where you were at. Tell them a little bit about that, because that just blew my mind.
Yeah, it was back when they could still run the 4-man wedge, which meant there was 4 linemen that would link up and basically run in front of the returner, and you had to have 1 or 2 guys willing to run 70 yards and try to blow it up the best you could. And so that was my role, was to kind of make as much destruction and disrupt as much blocking scheme as I could. And I liked it because there were guys I shouldn't have been in the room with. There were guys that were SEC, all team, first team, all that. But when they got to the NFL, it's almost like they thought running down on special teams or being a scout team player was beneath them. And if you're going to be successful in football life, whatever it is, there's no job too small. It's never, that's not my job. You know what I mean? You always just get the job done no matter how you have to do it. I talk about my dad sometimes. He used to mow the football field because he wanted his grass the way it was. And I don't know how many athletic directors out there actually, go with the maintenance team to mow and line the field. But that always impressed me. And it just showed me that he was humble enough to do whatever it took to make sure everything was the right way. And so when I got to the NFL and I realized, okay, I don't have the C on my chest anymore. I'm not the team captain. What is my new role? And so finding out that being a great scout team player made the offense play better. Okay, that's my role. I'm going to take ownership of it and I'm going to do it the best I can. Special teams, if my job is to go and get as many tackles or bust as many wedges or whatever it is, then I'm going to do that the best I can because that's my new role. And, there were guys at times that, even in my draft class, that kind of laughed at how hard I went and kind of laughed at how serious I took things. But they were also the guys that I watched, laugh right out the building when they were going to the airport. And then I was walking in the building to get ready for game 1 because I was willing to take coaching. I was willing to learn new techniques. And my coaches knew they could trust me to do exactly what they wanted me to do and do it 100 miles an hour.
So Jason, but that's and you brought up a really good point. So that talent, right? You and I have talked about this before. That talented, and I'm just going to say big SEC player that thought he came from being it all, having it all, doing it all, right? What was the difference? What do you think the difference was? What made you so much more hungrier than this guy over here? And what was your approach to that?
One thing my dad always told me growing up was that success comes to those who are humble enough. Well, success comes to those consistently, to those who are humble enough to bend down and pick it up. And that always struck me as basically drop your ego and do your job. No matter what your job is. If you're on a team, your job is to help the team win, help the team perform the best. And it doesn't matter if you're a third team player who's a scout team player or if you're the starting quarterback. You've got to figure out what your role is, learn it, and then own it and execute it the best you can. If you're going to be the best teammate you can. Coach Patterson used to always tell us the great players are the players that make those players around them better. And I knew if I could learn the technique, learn different positions, help other guys learn them, but also communicate their job to them while we're on the field, then I could make guys around me better. And it had nothing to do with talent, had nothing to do with size, speed. It just had to do with how hard did I study the playbook? How hard did I watch film? How many times did I go ask coach a question or ask a question in film room and learn everything I could about the role I had? I wasn't the Ray Lewis starting linebacker that was going to get everybody raw ready before the game. That was my job at TCU, but I had a new job here. And if you don't take ownership of your new job and understand that no job is beneath you, like you may be SEC first team, but now you're here. There's Ray Lewis. He's a Hall of Famer. So you're not going to play. So what can you do to add value to yourself? You know, the NFL guys used to always say the more you can do, which meant the more you can do, the more likely you're going to make the team. And that always struck me pretty true, because the more I could do, the more likely I was going to beat out a guy that could do one thing really well, but I could do 5 things pretty well. And it was the trust you gain from your coaches and your teammates that helped me make the team. If they didn't think they could trust you to go out there and run on special teams and do it the right way, they weren't going to play you because their job depended on it. If they didn't trust that you could back up a lot of positions, they didn't want you to dress because they wanted somebody who could go in there and do exactly what they were supposed to do. I may not have been as effective pass rushing on 3rd down, but 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down, I was going to do my job. I was going to make the tackle or make the play, be in the coverage spot, because they knew I understood exactly what they wanted, and they trusted me to help them keep their job by simply doing my job the right way.
You know, and I think I love the point you made about making everybody else around you better. And again, I'm going to keep relating this back to just general life, you know, and work and anywhere in life, man. We're so, sometimes we get so focused on ourselves, and we forget about how, you know, the talent that we've been given, and we all have some level of talent, but being just working hard, doing the best at what we can do. I think you're just you keep bringing that up, and really that's what got you through that's your success. If you took whatever role you had on the team, in that team at the time, you took it wide open. And you even talked about, even on practice, you know, sometimes the guys would get upset because you go wide open. Talk a little bit about that, because I think, guys, again, this talks about Jason got his opportunity because he worked hard when he didn't think everybody was watching. And talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, I always try to tell, if I'm speaking to a team, whatever it is, you never know how you're going to get where you want to go. And I came into TCU as a fullback, and so I knew my job that year was to be on scout team and give the defense the best look they could get, but it was also to learn how to play fullback. I had never played it before. So I studied all the fullbacks that played before me. I'd watch film. I'd learn how to take angles, learn how to play with pad level, just learn what pass protections were. But I also would go and practice as hard as I could, because I didn't play in games my first year. I redshirted. So my game day was Tuesday and Wednesday when we had pads on, and I could get the reps I needed to get. And by practicing as hard as I could, it slowed the game down for me, because if I was going 100 miles an hour every play with 120 plays in practice, I could go on game day and play 40 plays like it's nothing. And that's how I looked at it. And I did. I had some seniors that year, you know, kind of come up to me and say, hey, if we go middle drill and you're on scout team, if they're going to run the ISO, just, you know, let's just fit up. And I just was like, no, like that's how I'm going to get better, is by going as hard as I can against the best we have. And so if you meet me in the hole and you're not, you know, ready to roll, I'm going to smoke you. And next thing you're going to do is look at the clouds. And it got me in a couple fights, but, you know, through the year, if I just kept doing it and showed those guys, look, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is my goal, is to become the starting fullback, so you're not going to stop me from doing it. They slowly started to come around on me. And then by the end of the year, you know, they vote offensive MVP, defensive MVP, and the same seniors that were pissed off at me early in the year voted me scout team MVP as a fullback at the end of the year. And then that led to something else that I didn't know was happening, but Coach Patterson had been watching me throughout that whole year. And I don't think he wanted to offer me from the beginning. I think the running backs coach did. I don't know if Coach P was 100% on board. But after seeing me go through that year and playing running back, fullback, tight end, whatever they needed, you know, to get a good look at, I think he realized, okay, that kid's a lot more athletic than I thought, which got me moved to linebacker. And so I never would have even moved to linebacker if I hadn't have just gone out every day, owned my role, and executed it the best I could, the hardest I could. Because if I had pulled up, if I hadn't have done it every day in and day out, it might have been a day Coach P saw it and said, no, never mind. He's not what I thought he was. And so I got moved to linebacker. The rest is history, just because of him watching me my whole first year, and I didn't even know it.
So, I mean, doing your best in a different role ended up excelling you into a career that you, wow. I
Yeah,
mean,
and it
and I
showed
mean,
me
again,
that I was willing to just compete. I was willing to do whatever I could to help the team the most I could, and it didn't
mhm.
matter what they needed me to do, whether it was play ball or go get the water for everybody. It was just he knew I was going to do it the best I could do it, so he knew that was going to carry over to whatever he asked me to do later.
Well, and a lot of people, we hear the term a lot. Oh man, he was just at the right place. He got lucky. He got drafted. He got to go to TC. You worked your tail off at every role, every spot, and excelled. But what's behind it? And we just heard it, guys. Is hard work. A lot of people. I hate that term when people say, "Oh, they got lucky." Behind lucky is somebody really getting after it
Yeah,
and
a
doing
lot of
it.
late nights they never saw.
That's right. Late nights and like you said, the extra time, the studying, the whatever that looks like, right? I mean, whether it be putting in the extra hours at the office, trying to get better at your role, studying, taking extra classes, whatever that looks like. But my point is, behind most successful people is not luck, it's hard work.
Mhm.
And I think Jason talks a lot about that. Jason, I know you got a book you're working on, and I can't wait for that to come out. It's going to be exciting. And I know you go around and, I know you talk to a lot of schools and coaches about, about basically what we're talking about. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't imagine a group of young kids football team not being able just to want to run through a wall after Jason gets through talking to them. But I know, so coaches, if you get no coaches, I mean, Jason's great at talking with these kids, and I love what you're doing, giving back to this the youth, and because teaching them hard work is something I feel like we're missing a lot in our society, and not just in athletics. I think a lot of times people want stuff just given to them instead of really, getting down and just working at grassroots and making stuff happen
Yeah.
instead of waiting on it. But Jason, talk, if you will, on I mentioned what all you do, but talk how people can get a hold of you, things that you're doing, like talking to schools, and what are your future plans with all that stuff? Because you've got a lot of great information to be sharing with folks.
Yeah, the book is coming out later this year, a working title, but it overall explains all the stuff we've talked about and then some, and it really goes into what I call zero talent characteristics, and it's how I manufactured my talent for the most part. I could run a little bit, but I wasn't as big as some of those guys. Wasn't as fast. Wasn't as athletic. Wasn't as strong, but day in and day out, my goal was to do those things that most people take for granted the best I could and make it to where it just became my everyday habitual behavior. It's just what I did. It became my reputation, I guess you could say. And then it starts with simply, I always call it passing the alarm clock test in the morning. When you wake up, what kind of mindset, attitude are you going to attack the day with, even when you don't want to get out of bed? It's rainy, it's cold, whatever it is, everybody's staying in. Are you going to be the guy that gets up and then puts the work in that you need to put in, not because somebody told you to, but because that's the only way you can get to where you want to go? And the number one zero talent characteristic I talk about is attitude. And I think it's because, I talk about being made men or being made athletes. And the made is MADE. My attitude stands for my attitude determines everything. And I think that kind of says it all, because it's kind of like when I got moved from fullback to linebacker. I'd spent that whole time working on becoming a great fullback, and I got named the starter. And then 3 days later, Coach P calls me in his office and moves me to third team linebacker. And I said, yes, sir. And, walked out, and I called my dad. And I just remember telling him, I just got named starting fullback, and they want to move me to third team linebacker. And I call your buddies at Texas State. I want to transfer because I just learned how to play fullback. And I'll never forget what my dad said. He just kind of said, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, stop complaining and shut up. He goes, because Patterson's probably forgot more football than you'll ever know. And he said, how many snaps do you think you're going to play if you start at fullback? And I really didn't even know what he was talking about, but I think I said like 20 or 30, and he kind of laughed and was like, maybe 5 to 7. He was like, if they don't go to the spread offense. He goes, now how many snaps do you think you're going to play if you can work, learn the defense, and become the starting linebacker? And I thought to myself, okay, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. And it was like 70 or 80 snaps. And so I couldn't see the benefits of what Coach Patterson had, moving me to linebacker could bring into my life, because I was so focused on the negative. I was so focused on what I had lost and not what I could gain if I just took ownership of it and went to work. And that was a day I realized, number one, I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. And number two, go back to just working and doing what you're supposed to do day in and day out, and good things will happen. You know what I mean? It's kind of like living a service life. If you live a service life where you work to help others without asking for anything in return, good things will happen to you. And it's true in all walks of life. But I ended up, like I said, working that summer, learned the defense, and then started that first game and never looked back. And I don't think I could have got there if it wasn't for my dad adjusting my attitude, because your attitude is it's a lens, kind of what you see the world through. You know what I mean? It's going to be good or bad based on what your attitude is toward it. And my dad's always had the ability to see the glass half full. And that helped me that day, because if I had transferred, I would have became a fullback that didn't play much, that, was probably got done, went to coach high school football. And instead I went to, linebacker, became a Hall of Fame linebacker at TCU, vested in the NFL. A lot of things I never thought would happen happened simply because I said yes sir, went to work, failed over and over again, trying to learn linebacker. I mean, yeah, that first spring game, I can't tell you how many times I was running the wrong way. I didn't know what I was doing. And I did look bad on film, and guys were joking with me, making fun of me, but I also learned what not to do. And I got better, and I got better, and I got better. And then we opened up with OU that year, and my first game ever to play in college at linebacker was my first game, and we beat OU, I think 13-10, and we were 28-point underdogs. And it goes to show that you never know where you're going to, how you're going to get to where you want to go. So just put the work in and just have a positive outlook on it, and no matter what happens, just get up and keep going.
Well, you're all over this thing, and I want to rephrase a couple of things that you just said. He talked about, Jason talked about not having the right, not being big enough, not being tall enough, not being fast enough, all these things, right? But the one thing he said that was attitude, right, and mindset. And we talk about, I hate the word positive mindset. I know that's such a broad statement, but he took and helps to his, with help from his dad, but his mind is what helped him push through. And I think our mind, in so many cases, is so much more powerful than people think it is. And there's a lot of studies out there that we could dive into, but our mind is a powerful, probably it is the most powerful tool we have.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes we overlook it. But Jason has shown us just right here in this conversation that his mind, he was beat many times. He shouldn't have been in that room. You heard him say that. He shouldn't have been here. He shouldn't have been there. But you know what? It can be, our mind can overcome a lot of our other things. And Jason, you proved that, and I love it, because I think our mind's holding a lot of us back from things we're doing. Is it the right time? And, I'm not smart enough, or I don't have this. And you know what? And I simply say, quit complaining and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that's a statement that we've got to kind of kick ourselves in the tail and get up and go get it. And Jason, man, you're a prime example of that. Jason, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
I have social media, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, and then I have my email is just jasonwp1939@gmail.com. But shoot me a message on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be, LinkedIn, any of that. And one of my favorite things about going and talking to kids at different schools is letting them see me in person because I joke with them a lot of times. They'd say, I'm pretty sure you guys probably thought I played, deep snapper in the NFL. You never would have thought I was a Mike linebacker, 240 pound. And a lot of them don't even realize I'm the guy that's speaking to them that day. And that's what I love about it, because it shows them that, yeah, everyday, normal, average people, if you work hard enough, you put the time in, you put the effort in, you fail, you learn, you get better, can do whatever really you want if you put your mind to it. If you say, okay, yeah, I may fail, but I'm gonna get up and go again. Yeah, it may be hard. Somebody may make a joke or laugh at me. I don't care. I don't know them. I don't care about them. They don't affect me. So, I'm gonna take advantage of everything I get to do in life. And that mindset of I get to instead of I have to. I think a lot of times people say, I have to go to practice, or I have to do this. Or is it I get to go to practice. I get to go get better. You know what I mean? I get to do things that a lot of people don't realize they take for granted for. There's people out there that don't get to do that kind of stuff that would love to. And if you can put yourself in their shoes just for 1 second, you'll understand how great you have it. And you'll start looking at the things you do have instead of the things you don't have. I think
love it. Preach it, man. Preach it. I love that. And guys, if we can't get motivated from that, right? And and we unfortunately we can't all apply this to the NFL. We weren't all like Jason and had that opportunity. But you know what? We do have opportunities. Every single one of us have opportunities to do something, right? And I know Jason, got to know Jason over the years, and man, his heart is in the right place as far as he wants to help people. And I think that's what it takes. If he can help these young athletes get through, if he can help, he helps people that are non-athletes sometimes just get through some challenges. So, Jason, I want to thank you for what you're doing. We're going to have Jason back on because guys, we can dive a little deeper. And then when the book comes out, I really want to have him on so that we can talk about his book. Guys, go out, follow Jason on social media so you can get ready when that book comes out. Coaches, if you're out there, if you know coaches that are looking for somebody to have some boys get motivated and just make them realize they've got what it takes. They just need to go look in the mirror, right?
And one thing I think a lot of people don't understand, it's never the perfect time. Nothing's ever going to be the right time. You just got to start doing it. Once you start doing it and you fail, you learn, you go, you start, you go. It's just getting up and going to
take that step.
It's never going to be, it's never going to be the right time.
Well, and before we go, I want to just say, Jason, congratulations, man. I know I'm excited. You are getting married here in a couple of weeks, and I want to be the first one to say congratulations for you and your new wife. So congratulations on that. And then, guys, again, follow Jason, and guys, be looking around, be following us for Jason's book coming out. Jason, thanks again, man. Yeah. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to No Options. If this episode spoke to you, please take a moment and leave a review. And more importantly, please share it with someone who may need to hear it. You can find more stories, resources, and ways to connect over at my website, tygipson.com. And that is Gipson with a P, TYGIPSON.com. Remember, no matter where you are, your story isn't over yet if you live like you have no options. I'll see you next time.
You know Ty Gipson is an entrepreneur, a relentless survivor. Did you know he's also a powerhouse speaker? After overcoming 3 transplants of juvenile diabetes, he built thriving businesses with one mantra: no options. Ty transforms adversity into action. His keynotes ignite audiences with real-world resilience and 30-plus years of sales mastery. Are you ready to inspire your team? Book Ty Gipson today as your next speaker. You can call 512-944 4780 or head over to tygipson.com. That's Gipson with a P. It's time for your event to share the motivation that is no options.